including 4 inmates under federal death sentences, were executed by electric chair at Sing Sing until the abolition of the death penalty in 1972. A new death house was built in 1920 and began executions in 1972 after a series of escapes from death row. House was built in 1920 and began executions in 1922. High-profile executions in Sing Sing's electric chair, nicknamed called Old Sparky, include Julius and Ethel Rosenberg on June 19, 1953 for espionage for the Soviet Union and nuclear weapon research, and Gerhard Poff on August 12, 1954 for the murder of an FBI agent. The last person executed in New York State was Eddie Leo Mays for murder on August 15, 1963. In 1972, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Foreman v. Georgia that the death penalty was unconstitutional if its application was inconsistent and arbitrary. This led to a temporary de facto nationwide moratorium. Executions resumed in other states in 1977, but the electric chair at Sing Sing still remained. In the early 1970s, the electric chair was moved to the Green Haven Correctional Facility in working conditions but was never used again. So the educational programs on this Sing Sing prison was Catherine Vokins, who founded rehabilitation through the arts at Sing Sing. Our rehabilitation through the arts works in collaboration with theater professionals, provide prisoners with a curriculum of year-round theater-related workshops. The Rehabilitation Through Arts program was put on a number of plays at Sing Sing, open to prisoners and community guests. The program has shown that the use of dramatic techniques leads to significant improvements in the cognitive behavior of the program's participants inside prison and a reduction of recidivism when paroled. The impact of rehabilitation through arts on social and institution behavior was formally evaluated by John Jay College for Criminal Justice in collaboration with the New York State Department of Corrections, led by Dr. Lorraine Moeller, professor of speech and drama at John Jay. The study found that rehabilitation through arts had a positive impact on notable rehabilitation through arts prisoner Paul Stanimorovic, who first participated in the program, showing that the longer the inmate was in the program, the fewer violations he committed. The Rehabilitation Through Arts program currently operates at 5 other New York State prisons. The organization Hudson Link for Higher Education in Prison provides college courses to incarcerated people to help reduce recidivism and poverty and strengthen families and communities. In 1988, as part of the Get to Tough on Crime campaign, state and federal funding for college programs inside prison was stopped. Understanding the positive effects of education in the transformation and rehabilitation of incarcerated people, inmates at Sing Sing Correctional Facility reached out to religious and academic volunteers to develop a college degree granting program Under Ann Resner, Hudson Link for Higher Education in Prison was founded to restore college education at Sing Sing through private funding. So, in 1931, new prison reforms gave Sing Sing State Penitentiary prisoners permission to partake in recreational opportunities. The baseball and football teams and the vaudeville presentations and concerts were funded through revenue from paid attendance. Tim Mara, the owner of the New York Giants, sponsored the Sing Sing Black Sheep Sing Sing's football team. Mara provided equipment and uniforms and players to tutor them in fundamentals. He helped coach them the first season, known as the Black Sheep. They were also sometimes called the Zebras. All games were home games, played at Lewis Stadium, named for Warden Lewis E. Lewis. In 1935, the starting quarterback, the two other starters escaped the morning before a game. Museum. In plans to turn a portion of Sing Sing into a museum date back to 2002. When local officials sought to turn the old powerhouse into the museum linked by a tunnel to a retired cell block at a cost of $5 million, in 2007, the village of Ossining applied for $12.5 million in federal money for the project, at the time expected to cost $14 million. The contribution of this Sing Sing prison is that the expression "up the river" to describe someone in prison heading to prison derives from the practice of sentencing people convicted in New York City to serve their terms in Sing Sing, which is located up the Hudson River from the city. The slang expression and dates from 1891. So let's proceed to the second topic, which is the Auburn State Prison. Auburn State Prison is located in Auburn, New York, opened in 1816. Prison located in Auburn, New York, opened in 1816. It established a disciplinary and administrative system based on silence, corporal punishment, and congregate group labor. In architecture and routine, Auburn became the model for prisons throughout the United States. In early 19th century, many Americans believed that industrialization and dramatic demographic, economic, and political upheavals had conspired against the traditional controls of family, church, and community. From their perspective, these moral guardians could no longer adequately control disorder. They saw crime as a product of social chaos. Necessary to its eradication was a structured environment in which deviants could be separated from the disorder of society and the contagion of one another. Their solution was to create the penitentiary, a new institution for reforming offenders and ultimately restoring social stability. Auburn originally used concrete cells, but in 1821, Warden William Britton borrowed the concept of solitary cells from the so-called Pennsylvania system. Britton designed a unique 5-tiered cell block of 2 rows of single cells placed back to back in the center of the building. Cells measured only 3.5 feet